Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, this is Josh, and welcome to another exhilarating game of StarCraft 2. This one is being played between WhiteRa, better known as WhiteRa. He is the red Protoss. Up here in the top right corner of Xel'Naga Caverns, his opponent today is Roxkiss BratOK, and I might call him BratOK. Actually, I think BratOK is what I favor for this name. Usually you see it with an underscore between the Brat and the OK, but I have no idea how it's actually properly pronounced, and I apologize for that. So he is going to be BratOK for this best of 3 series being played for the Black Dragon League. This is a league that I've not cast any games from before, but it is a Europe-wide league. And BratOK and WhiteRa are both 2 extremely good European players that you should know about already, but in case you don't, just look at these little info panes to see a little bit more about them. And BratOK, I'm not really too familiar with his TVP style. I am a lot more familiar, in fact, with WhiteRa's style. Against Terran opponents, he basically does one of 2 builds most of the time, and the first one, of course, is a 4-gate, where he gets a forward pylon and tries to crush your face in with some skillful force fields and lots of units. Or he goes for a 1-gateway robotics facility. If he wants to play a little bit more macro-oriented, he gets to that robotics facility very quickly so that he can get an observer out against Terran opponents. He always fears the Banshee, as he probably should, because, you know, Protoss can have trouble with Banshees if they don't go forge first or get that observer out quickly. And it's just going to be a matter of what he is feeling today, I think, and what he manages to scout out from his opponent, BratOK, or BratOK, here in the beginning of the game. And right now, there's nothing too crazy going on, just that first barracks should be seeing the orbital command and first marine around the same time. There goes that orbital and the first marine. So BratOK, all his timings are pretty much spot on. Back in WhiteRa's base, he is adding on a cybernetics core, which of course is the next logical step in the very standard Protoss build. Next up, he can either get another assimilator or a couple more gateways, and we'll see what he chooses to do here soon. He is spending all of his chrono boost still on getting some probes out, so we should see that reflected in the harvester tab. There we do see WhiteRa has a significant lead already in the game. And now that this orbital command is complete, we see a mule drop for BratOK, and that is going to keep him in the game as far as minerals are concerned. But eventually, that will even out. WhiteRa will have to spend his chrono boost on things other than probes, and of course BratOK can just drop tons of mules. Even if he forgets about the energy on his orbital command, he'll still be able to drop 4 mules at a time or whatever he needs to. So BratOK is having a nice little jog around this base here of WhiteRa. WhiteRa has a zealot out trying to chase him away. And he does successfully get him out of his hair before dropping any additional tech or gateways. So no robotics facility yet, no second gateway. BratOK really doesn't have any idea what WhiteRa is going to be going next. Here is the second gateway, so that means he is most likely going to go into full aggression mode. Notice here that he did not even try to wall off here at the top of his ramp. He has no qualms about BratOK showing up and marching right up his ramp. It looks like he is going to try to be the aggressor this game, as you see gateway number 3 being plopped down there. And warp gate tech is not being chrono boosted right now, even though he does have the energy to do it, so that is a little bit interesting. BratOK, on the other hand, getting up barracks number 2 and 3 and a command center, so he's been going the mineral only variety, even though he did get enough gas for a tech lab and stim pack to be researched. So far he's really just spending tons and tons of minerals. Still no second refinery or anything like that. And BratOK tried to get up the ramp there, did not quite make it next to this zealot and sentry blocking the ramp. Pylon dropped down on the low ground for WhiteRa, and gateway number 3 is going to be complete here soon. Will he try to expand? Yes, it actually does look like he's going to go for that nexus off of just 3 gateways, and of course with 2 nexuses fully saturated, you could actually go all the way up to 6 gateways, so we'll see what WhiteRa is thinking as far as additional tech here soon. But BratOK showing us he is fine with just mass bio. No factory being built just yet. Second refinery is started up there on that Vespene geyser, and now his second orbital command is complete and going to be floating over to his natural to catch up with WhiteRa. WhiteRa does have a single stalker here, so he'll at least be aware of this timing once all these Marines and Marauder come down here. No concussive shells for BratOK, so the Stalker is actually going to escape. Stim Pack is about to complete now, so he probably should get another upgrade queued up No, he doesn't have any yet, but I would be surprised if he didn't get Combat Shield next, as he does seem to be going quite Marine heavy with these 2 reactor barracks. So now we see a robotics facility actually starting for WhiteRa. He's going to go 3-gate robo. Could be going for a quick observer, although he hasn't gotten any real good scouting information so far. His opponent could actually have a Stargate coming up here, or a starport I should say, with Cloaked Banshees. He still doesn't actually know that for certain. So probably is going to be getting the observer first. And I want to watch this robotics facility closely. He does have enough to make an observer, but instead he is using all of his chrono boost and all of his money right now on these tier 1 units. He's sending a probe along for the ride, dropping a forward pylon next to the Xel'Naga Tower. Always a great decision. BratOK is starting to move here with 3 Marauders and a ton of Marines. Combat Shields is researching, or are researching, depending on how you want to say that. But yeah, great force fields there by WhiteRa, going to pin a lot of Marines and a couple of Marauders in place, and suddenly BratOK's army is heavily reduced. Look at the units lost tab already, showing WhiteRa in firm control of this game. He loses a probe there, but does manage to get that pylon set up, and now we are going to see some more force fields doing a little bit of a squeeze there on these units from BratOK. He's pulling a lot of SCVs to try and kill off these sentries. Guardian Shield, such a valuable spell here for these early attacks with your gateway units, reducing damage done by both Marines and Marauders, and suddenly WhiteRa looks to be in huge control. Huge advantage here in this early game, warping in 3 more Zealots. I believe he still is sitting on only 3 gateways. I'm going to pop back to his base in just a moment, but I want to see how this orbital command does, if it survives or not. Looks like BratOK does send an SCV over here to get repairing very quickly. Yeah, I think it is actually going to survive. BratOK has quite a lot of Marines and Marauders still at the top of this ramp. Combat shields are done now, so that's certainly going to help, but he does not have any medevacs, so every time he stims like that, he is reducing the longevity of his barracks forces there. And of course WhiteRa can continue to just keep warping in. There comes gateway number 4 now. His robotics facility is creating an immortal, not an observer. Did he ever get an observer? No, he didn't, so that's quite interesting. I guess, did he get up the ramp and see kind of what was going on there? Yes, he did actually manage to see all those barracks. Not worried about a starport anymore, so he is making an immortal and 2 more gateways, not just 1. So soon he'll be up to 5 warp-ins, and that first immortal will be down here sooner than later. But WhiteRa may not even need the immortal. Guardian Shield once again doing its job. Good force fields down there, at least going to pin these Marines and Marauders back. Actually, these aren't the greatest force fields, I should say, because all these Marines and Marauders are still able to shoot at something. Usually with a force field, you want to pin them back so that they're running around, unable to hit anything. However, WhiteRa does have the unit count here on his side, so he is actually just going to barrel through the rest of these Marauders and Marines. There is a single medevac up for BratOK, of course. That's not really going to make a difference when you don't have any fighting units left, and the medevac explodes anyway. 2 Marines popping out at a time, still stimming up. They still have combat shields, so they are going to be able to power down these Zealots, but now we have 3 Stalkers and a Sentry still alive. 1 more Guardian Shield goes up before the Sentry is destroyed, and more Zealots being warped in constantly from that forward pylon. Looks like WhiteRa is still in firm control here. That first immortal is done, and I think he is moving across the minimap there as I see him approaching that pylon. WhiteRa down to only just 1 Zealot, and 1 more in the mineral line there, being picked off by those Marines and that Marauder. But now, how many Zealots? 5 Zealots and an immortal come in here. BratOK has lost so many workers during this, and of course is not mining from his natural anymore, while WhiteRa has been happily mining with 43 probes. This game is more than over right now. It is just a formality at this point. Depends on when BratOK actually does the GG. This immortal here being a superstar with 5-6 kills already. The Zealots, all they have to do is worry about the SCVs. BratOK GG's, and that is going to be it for Game 1 in this best of 3 series for the Black Dragon League.